Morning, everybody. We'll begin today's session now. So here you're provided an animation of a person who is speaking. What you have to guess is which option most accurately matches the animation. Now, in this case, if you read all the parts, all the four options very carefully, just focus on how this animation ends. From where, yes, it starts, of course, but then how it ends. So this is the ending part now. Now it will come. This is the ending part. The mouth is wider here. If you read all these parts very carefully, what you will find is mean, coffee, tea. Of all these, tea is the one which will leave a wider mouth when you are uttering the word. So that's where the correct answer in this case is option C, which is Lee. Okay, so here C is the correct answer. In the next part here, we are provided an animation. What you have to find is, this is a guy named Trevor who is bouncing back and forth. To create this animation, the animator uses a reference sketch to mark each position of Trevor during the bouncing. Which option correctly represents the position of Trevor in animator's reference sketch is what you have to guess. In this case, if you observe, the correct appropriate thing to observe would be where does the head stay for the longest in the animation. From bouncing back to going back and forth, if you observe, the first part is where this much part, the half part is where the head stays the longest. Also, in the lower part, which is here, it's where you find two parts happening simultaneously, very closely to each other, which means that if the person would have been marking it, he would have seen that there will be two parts happening here simultaneously, how it is shown here. It will be happening together at the end, which is which could be shown as a darker line, or two lines which are kept very closely to each other. And also in the upper part is the part where maximum, where the head stays for not maximum, but for a longer time. The correct answer is option C. Now we'll move to the next part. Here, you're provided a sheet of paper that is folded as shown in the figure. Here, then there is a word named marker. Maker, sorry, not marker, but then there's a word named maker is written on it as shown in the figure. What you have to find is which of the option correctly represents the part when the paper is unfolded. When you unfold this paper, which of the option correctly represents the sheet, sorry. So in this case, if you observe the paper very carefully, ये वाला जो आपका part है, this part of the fold is actually coming out, which means ये जब unfold होगा, तो ये front paper होगा, ये front side होगा, और ये वाला आपका back side of the paper होगा. What it means कि जो भी ऊपर वाले part में, मतलब इतने वाले part में जो भी part लिखा होगा maker का, वो आपको नहीं दिखेगा. From that part, we can easily remove two of the options, which means option C is wrong and option D is wrong. Why? Because in both the cases, we are able to see the top part, which is happening, which will eventually happen on the back side of the sheet. Now, between A and B, if you observe very carefully, just look at these folds. One part, second part, one part and second part. वन पार्ट एंड सेकेंड पार्ट. व्हाट इट मीन्स कि ये दोनों जो आपके फोल्ड्स है, ये पार्ट और ये पार्ट के जो भी आपके पार्ट्स है, वो दोनों इक्वल लेंथ के होंगे. विच मीन्स के ये वाला जितना डिमेंशन होगा व्हाइट स्पेस का, उतना ही डिमेंशन पीछे दिखेगा. विच मीन्स के ये स्पेसिंग और ये स्पेसिंग हैज टू बी यूनिफॉर्म. In option A, we see that happening very easily between these two spacing being uniform. In option B, the fold वाला part यहाँ पे है और आपके spacing एक यहाँ पे थोड़ा और यहाँ पे कुछ और है. In option B also, ये नीचे वाले part में भी same चीज हो रहा है. ये बड़ा spacing है, ये बहुत छोटा spacing है. That's where B is wrong and A जहाँ पे ये दोनों spacing uniform है, is the correct answer. Okay. P and Q are two-layered dials of a watch. Dial Q is placed on top of dial P. ये वाला dial आपको P के ऊपर रखा गया है. The white areas in the dial are cut portions through which parts of P are visible. ये वाले जो भी white parts है वो सारे cut parts है through which parts of P are visible. The pattern shown in the image R is taken at 12 hours. ये 12 बजे लिया हुआ है. Dial Q rotates 90 degree after every 15 minutes in clockwise direction around the central axis. ये rotate हो रहा है 90 degree clockwise every 15 minutes. और ये हो रहा है आपका एंटी क्लॉकवाइज 45 degree every 30 minutes. Find out the right pattern at 1:30. Okay, this is what is given. Now, here, if you observe very carefully, P is rotating 45 degrees anti-clockwise. This is happening after every 30 minutes. And Q is rotating 90 degree clockwise after every 15 minutes. The time difference between 12 to 13:30 is of 1.5 hours or 1 hour 30 minutes or 1.5 hours. Between that, in that 1.5 hours, if I translate P and Q, how many times would have it rotated? P would have rotated 3 times. 3 times 45 degree but and anti-clockwise, which means that the rotation of P would be 135 degree anti-clockwise, which is how this position will look like. ये rotated version है P का. And Q will be in 1.5 hours will be rotating 6 times 90 degree, which means that from in 6 times 90 degree और वो भी which means कि एक पूरा circle complete करने के लिए there will be 4 rotations. It has to rotate 4 times. Plus additionally it is also, which means after rotating 4 times it will come back to its original position where Q is, and then it will additionally rotate 2 times 90 degree, which means Q has to rotate 180 degree from the current position where it is in clockwise direction. This is the rotated position of Q after at 1:30, and this is how the rotated position of P will look like at 1:30. When you overlay each other, what you will find is ये जो green वाला part है वो यहाँ कहीं पे ऐसे दिखाई देगा. That is happening in only one option, which is option C, which is the correct answer. When you overlay each other, this is how the final object will look like, which is exactly how C looks like. Which one of the diagram does not represent any of the relationships which are provided below? Now, in this case, if you look at very carefully, egg sugar cake दिया है, seed fruit tree, rock paper scissors दिया है. Of all the options, this is clearly rock paper scissors because there is nothing common in between all the 3 objects. Rock paper scissors. Egg, sugar, and cake is this, where this represents cake, this is egg, and this is sugar. There's no common element between egg and sugar, but they both are a part of cake along with other parts. So this is egg, sugar, and cake. Raw seed, fruit, or tree is what this is. This is seed, this is fruit, and this is tree. Seed and fruit are a part of the tree. Fruit is a part of seed, and seed is on its own. So D is a part. So this is seed, fruit, and tree. Okay, so B is the only one which does not दिया है, which does not represent any of the relationships. Okay. Three girls went to a square garden with their dogs. The garden was built around a banyan tree at the center. The area around the tree was bounded by a beautiful picket fence. Usha, the eldest, sat on the platform under the banyan tree, while Fluffy, which may be her dog, lay at her feet, sleeping peacefully in the shade. Reena and Tommy walked around the fence looking at the beautiful flowers. Madhu is the youngest of the three, also, was always running around shouting at Gulu, who might have been her dog, who loved chasing the squirrels, who loved the challenge of chasing squirrels. Which of the diagram correctly represents the above scenario? Circle is the girl, triangle is the pet, and size represents their age, which means bigger the size, older is the sister, smaller the size, younger is the sister. Of all of that, what is given is Usha, who is the eldest. Usha is the eldest, is sitting under the banyan tree. Banyan tree is what is represented in gray. The oldest, matlab, sabse bada circle has to be in the banyan tree, which means option A is the only one where the bigger circle is sited under the banyan tree. The smaller circle is moving around. Ye wala smaller circle is moving around. That's where A will be the correct answer. The image below shows configuration for designing a nutcracker. Which of the option would require least amount of pressure to break the nut? In order to break the nut, option C is the one which will require least amount of pressure because the nut is small and you can easily just push your hands using the clamp and it will crack the nut because, yeah, this is a scissors combination. This is a combination for a wire cutter and this is a combination for picking up something. Cylinder P is cut by a cylinder Q as shown in the figure. Choose the option which shows the shape obtained after unrolling the cylinder P. Cylinder P is cut by cylinder Q. This is how it is cut. Now, if you observe the base of cylinder P, which is getting cut, एक edge उसका on the ground it is located like this. One edge is shorter. ये वाला edge आपका shorter होगा और ये वाला edge आपका longer होगा और ये shorter edge होगा. You can look at the size also. Which means अगर ये ground पे अगर दोनों edges आपके same होते और ये ground पे पड़ा होता तो ये ऐसे होता cylinder P. But instead, that cylinder is actually laying on the ground like this, which means this is a shorter edge and this is a longer edge. So when you unfold this, ये वाला edge जो है वो तो आपका straight line होगा, but ये edge जो longer है will be here and ये edge जो shorter है will look like this, and the curvature of it will be actually like this. Okay, because this edge is not at a perpendicular to the angle, it will look actually like this. This is an exaggerated version, but something like this. In this case, clearly option A or C are wrong. One edge has to be horizontal, one edge has to be curved. In A and C, both the edges are curved. So between B and D, we are supposed to find the answer. Now between B and D, when I try looking for the difference that is there, B में ये जो cutout है shorter edge पे हो रहा है, D में ये जो cutout है is running parallel to the longer edge. This is longer, this is shorter. Now, in the question figure, when I go back, the cutout is actually going to be placed along the shorter edge, which is seen here very easily. Which means कि जो भी shorter edge वाला curvature होगा वहां पे होगा, आपका longer edge वाला curvature पे नहीं होगा. So D is wrong and B is the correct answer. In this question, we are given that Aru had bought a new cushion cover from the market. Though the material is cotton, she was not happy with the plain cushion cover and planned to dye it with a color. She followed the process as shown in the diagram. Find out the pattern she got after dyeing the color. In this case, we are shown the folding pattern, which is rolled, and then This is how the color is applied. In order to find how it will be dyed, we'll go back the same way. When it is dyed here, यहाँ से आपका ये वाले फिगर में डाइंग कहाँ पे होगा? डाइड पार्ट इतने पार्ट में होगा, रेड. इतना पार्ट डाइड रेड होगा when you take it out. When you unroll it in this direction, when this gets unrolled like this, the dyed part will be actually happening here. This much part will be dyed. When this opens up in this direction here, ये यहाँ से open up हो रहा है, where this is the folded part. This part is folded up here. आपका जो भी dyed part होगा, dye किया हुआ part होगा, वो यहाँ पे होगा. ऐसा. Further, which means कि ये जो folded part है वहां पे dye नहीं होगा. Further from this position, when it is again opened up in this direction here, आपका जो dye किया हुआ part होगा, ये एक यहाँ पे आएगा and एक यहाँ पे आएगा. Which means option C is the one which is correct. Towards sustainable future, people are recycling materials. Shown below are products of or architecture, top row, that are made from recycling materials, which are kept on the bottom row. Which of the options listed below correctly identifies products or architecture with the material they are recycled from? In this case, P is recycled from circuits. So this is P, or let me write P2. Q is recycled from these containers. So Q is 4. R is recycled from plastic bottles. So this is R. And S is recycled from these containers, which is S. So S is 3. The option which represents P2, Q4, R1 and S3 is option C. And C is the correct answer. Which of the options shows the correct reflection of the chess piece? You're given a chess piece and then you're given a curved surface. You have to find which option correctly represents that curved surface. I'll show you one diagram before this. This is a reflection of a concave surface and a convex surface of the spoon. In this case, this is the inside of the spoon and this is the outside of the spoon. ये जो inside of the spoon वाला part है, वो inside of the spoon is what exactly how the current curvature is shown. ये अंदर वाला स्पून है और ये बाहर का पार्ट है स्पून का. अंदर वाले स्पून का रिफ्लेक्शन ऐसा ही दिखेगा जैसा आपको यहाँ पे दिख रहा है. Which means the object won't be rotated, but उसका सिर्फ inverted version दिखेगा. In this case, clearly option D और C गलत है आपके. उल्टा हो जाएगा आपका object. It won't be rotated, but it will be ulta. It will be flipped vertically. So in this case, the option which is flipped, B is rotated, which means B is also wrong. The option which is flipped and it is inverted is option A, which is the correct one, correct reflection of the chess piece. Here, you're given a shoe, one part of the shoe, you have to find the other right part. आपको left part दिया है, आपको right part उसका ढूंढना है shoe का. In this case, if you observe the options, in these kind of questions, always start with comparing the options within themselves. Compare the options within themselves. So here, if you look at, when you compare the options together, ये वाला जो आपका part है is what is very different in one option only. एक ये direction में है, which means इसका mirror ये direction में आना चाहिए. Option B वाला एक ही है figure जिसमें वो गलत orientation दिया है, so B is one. Between A, C and D, when you compare all the A, C and D together, डी वाला, ये वाला जो डॉट्स वाला पार्ट है वो गलत है, जिसमें ये डॉट सारे यूनिफॉर्म, ऑलमोस्ट यूनिफॉर्म साइज के, ये दो बड़े डॉट्स है, वर्सेस यहाँ पे आपको एक छोटा डॉट दिख रहा है, सो डी इज रॉन्ग दैट। Between A and C, when I compare it together, what is different in A and C is this much part. ये जो curvature है वो A का गलत है, so A is wrong and C is the one which will be the correct one. Now, in this figure, here on the left figure, this is made up of using white and black ribbons. What is given is that for all the black ribbons in the vertical direction, this vertical direction, all these ribbons, they are replaced with white ribbons, and all the ribbons in the horizontal directions are replaced with black ribbons. What would the resulting figure be? Look, here we are not changing anything, we are not even rotating, we are just changing the color of the ribbons. आपके सारे vertical ribbons white होंगे, आपके सारे horizontal ribbons black होंगे. What will it look like? Here again, we are going with the same method of comparing the options together. When I compare the options together amongst themselves, what you will find is between B and D, the fourth strip is something which is looking different between B and D. ये वाला जो स्ट्रिप है आपका, वो B और D का अलग है, और A और C में वो स्ट्रिप अलग दिख रहा है. When I look at with the question figure, this strip happens here, ये वाली, which means that this strip has to be above this horizontal strip, so B and D are wrong. Between A and C, when we again compare it together, we'll find one difference which is happening here, यहाँ पे. This part is where this strip happens, which of course has to go above it. So C is wrong and A is the one which will be the correct answer. Here, from which of the options 6 pieces of S shape, which is what is looking like here, can be cut out? Okay, is what we have to find. Now this shape S, when I rotate it like this, तो ये एक shape होगा, ये दूसरा shape होगा, which means it will make a bigger rectangle of 3 units by 2 units. Okay. When I place this 3 units by 2 units ka rectangle in all the options, and we try to get 6 pieces out of it, we'll try to accommodate 6 pieces. Let's see how it works out. In the option A, those 3 by 2 rectangles can be placed here. जिसमें ये आपका एक डायग्राम होगा और ये दूसरा होगा. Okay. So this 3 by 2, another 3 by 2, and then so this makes it two of such shape S, two of such shape S. ये तीसरा आएगा, और यहाँ पे ये sorry, ये 2 4, so this is the 5th one and this is the 6th one, so A will accommodate 6 pieces. A is the correct answer. Then we'll look at B. Here one or more answer is correct, so we'll have to look for all the options. In B, again, we'll follow the same method that we did with A. This is where one part, another part, and then so two pieces, 2 pieces, and 2 pieces. So B also can accommodate 6 pieces. B is correct. Then we'll move to C. In C, it's not possible actually. C में ये आपका ऐसे, so यहाँ पे 2 पीस आएंगे, यहाँ पे भी आपके 2 पीस आ जाएंगे. Then we may be able to accommodate one more piece here, but that makes it 5 pieces. So C is not possible. Then we'll go to check D. In D, this is 1 piece, I mean, these are two pieces, sorry. Then two pieces here in this rectangle. So 4 and then यहाँ पे भी आपके दो पीस हो जाएंगे. So D also can accommodate 6 pieces. So in this case, A, B and D, all three are correct.